Hi there, Jeremiah here, and today we're going to see how to set and play the Voyage of Argo. Argo is a 2 to 4 player, light to medium weight, card and dice game designed by Michael Shea and produced by Argo Design. In it, you and up to 3 of your friends will take on the role of ship captains, sailing through mythology with the goal of achieving the most glory over the course of 9 rounds. But before I get too far into it, let's go and see how it's set up and how it's played. So before we go over game setup, there's something I want to go over that I don't normally need to go over, and that's game construction. When you receive your game, you're going to receive 4 copies of these punch boards inside the box. Now each of these punch boards will contain all the components you need to build your player's ship, along with some other components that'll be used during gameplay. Now I have to give Michael credit here. These ships, once constructed, looks absolutely amazing on the table. However, depending on how you go about it, they can be a little bit frustrating to put together, so I wanted to go over this with you right now just to give you some tips and tricks to make your life a little bit easier. So go ahead and start out by punching out all these different boards. Tip number 1, when you're punching out these primary ship boards right here, they have a lot of these little deep indentations here where it can be kind of difficult to pop out with your fingers. So if you just take a mechanical pencil or some other small pointing device, they actually pop out super easily. You can just push on the ends like that, once in the middle, and it pops right out. Now, another tip is make sure that you're pushing from the rounded side. So you can see on the side here, one side's a little more rounded where it was cut, the other side's a little more flat where it's the back of it. Go ahead and push from the rounded side towards the flat side, and it'll pop out a little bit easier for you. Tip number 2, once you've got all 3 of the primary ship pieces punched out, something like this, go ahead and take the sides of the ship here, and you'll see there's a small cut or indent on either side, on the front and the back. Take those and kind of bend them away from the side with all the ink on it here. You can kind of see that way it'll actually stand up a little bit. Well, eventually. Do that with both sides. And now comes the tricky part, which is actually putting all this together. So you might be inclined to keep this rounded part on top so that during gameplay you can slide pieces into a little easier. But again, Michael did an excellent job in designing these. The pieces that actually take the components that will be used during gameplay are slightly oversized. So these, for example, this the ship sail here will easily fit into either side of the board. So we'll go ahead and use that to our advantage. Take the rounded side, again, the side's actually cut on, it's a little more rounded, and keep it face down. So the flat side will be up. And you'll just go ahead and slide these shields and these little nubbins here in the front and the back into the associated places on your ship here. And go ahead and make sure you have the urns here, or the pots in the back of the ship, which will be the side without the face. So let's go ahead and slide those in. And again, if you're using the rounded side, these should push on pretty easily. Just like so. No issues whatsoever. And same with the other side. You can go ahead and just adjust things to make sure it all lines up as you're shoving it on. And boom, easy peasy. And then, like I said, you have your sails, which will easily slide in the bigger slots. You've got your soldiers, which will slide in the small slots right between all the shields. And yeah, it looks awesome on the board. Toot-toot. One last tip. The game will come actually with a plastic insert for all the components when it is shipped to you. But once you've built your ships, unless you take them apart each time, it can be a little bit difficult to get it all back into the box. So if you want to do what I did and keep your ships together between gameplay, go ahead and take that insert and throw it out. Then if you turn the ships and lay them on their side, like I've done here, you can fit them all back in the box and keep them constructed between play sessions. So just take them, set them on their side like this. Ooh, set it down in there. Here in the corner, I've got all my decks of cards. Here in the bottom left, my baggies, my individual components. So here's all the sails, the soldiers, etc. And then I've got my dice just along the edge here. So, makes it real easy, fits in the box very snugly. It's a nice little setup here. So, here's my final tip. For setup, start out by giving each player a ship figurine. This will sit in front of them during gameplay and illustrate what power-ups they've managed to accumulate throughout the game. Next, find the treasure cards. They're easy to identify, as on the back they'll say treasure. Shuffle this up, and then give each player 3 cards randomly. So we'll go ahead and set those over there with that player. Take the remaining cards and set them out in the center of the table to start your game board. Next, find the encounter deck. Again, it'll be easy to find, as it'll say encounter on the back, and separate it into 3 piles. one for easy cards, one for medium cards, and one for hard cards. You'll be able to identify the difficulty of the encounter by looking at the tally marks in the bottom left-hand corner of the card. This has one tally mark, making it an easy card. Here's 2 tally marks for a medium card, and lastly, 3 tally marks for a hard card. Shuffle up each of these individual piles, and then take the easy encounters and set them next to the treasure deck, like so. Set aside the medium and hard encounters, as they'll be used later on during the game. Next, find location cards. Again, easy to find, location right on the back. There should be 9 of these. Shuffle these up, and take 3 of them randomly, like so, and then put on top of them an Uncharted Territory card labeled Hard. Shuffle these up again, take another random 3, put them on top, and again, find an Uncharted Territory card, this time labeled Medium, setting it up like so, with the last 3 location cards on top, to make a nice sandwiched stack. Take these and set them right above the treasure deck, like such. Next, randomly determine the first player and give them the first player token. So we'll go ahead and give it to this player over here. And then lastly, take all the extra components, which should be your dice, your ship components, some damage markers, and a couple of reference cards, and put them nearby where all players can reach them, and you're ready to play. Now that you're set up, the object of the game is to be the first player to score 7 glory cards. Glory cards are a type of treasure card, and they're easy to identify as they'll say glory in the top left and show a picture of a trophy in the center of the card. Barring no one scoring 7 glory cards, it'll be the player that has the most at the end of 9 rounds, which is the number of location cards in the location deck. So when that deck's empty, whoever has the most of these is the winner. Every game of Argo is broken up into 2 phases, the sail phase and the port phase. You'll always start with the sail phase and then you move to the port phase. Repeat ad nauseum until this deck is empty, or someone scores 7 glory cards and the game is over. So, at the start of the sail phase, you'll first reveal a location card. And this is going to show you where you are for this phase and the special rules for this phase of the game. So you'll flip it over. At the top, it'll say the name of the location, so this is the Sandy Shore. It'll show some artwork here in the center, beautifully done. And then at the bottom, it'll show the special rules for this round. So there could be one of 4 different symbols here. There'll either be one of these 4 symbols on the back of the encounter card. So in this case, it shows these ship icons. That means that these are rules that will apply to the players. So we can see that during this round of the game, we'll get to roll an extra die against any water-based encounters. And this plus sign means add an extra encounter when arriving at this location. If any of this symbology throws you off, there's a handy reference card that comes with the game that you can quickly reference to see what these different symbols mean. So you can see here, the plus means add an extra encounter card. Then, you'll go ahead and reveal encounter cards equal to the number of players in the game. So for a 2-player game, we flip over 2 cards, like so. But remember, our special rules for this round say we flip over an extra encounter when we first arrive at this location. So we would reveal 3. And then you're ready to start this round of the game. So during this phase of the game, your objective is to resolve all the face-up encounter cards. Once that's done, they'll be removed from the board and you'll move on to the next phase of gameplay. So how do you resolve an encounter card? Well, let's take a look at one. So here's an encounter card. The top left, you can see the type. So this is a water-based encounter. You can see the name, fishing nets. The top right will show the health. So it has a health of 1. Below that is the die roll you have to get to actually resolve this encounter. So 3, 4, 5, or 6 will score you hits against this. There's some artwork. These 3 lines are the retaliation effects, basically the things that this card will do back to us if we leave it on the board. The bottom left is the difficulty. This is an easy encounter. And the bottom right is the reward for resolving it. So on your turn, the first thing you can do, starting again with the first player, is decide if you want to play a feat card. So what are feat cards? Feat cards are one of the types of treasure cards in the game. We've already seen one, which are our glory cards. The entire point, you only want to score these to win. The second type are coins. These won't be used during this phase of the game. And the last type are feat cards. Feat cards will have the name of the card on the left here, so this is a tax collector card, some kind of unique artwork in the center, and then 3 effects at the bottom of them. And these can be powered up as you power up your ship throughout the game. Starting off, you'll only be able to use the top effect. So you see here it says 0 morale. And it says you can steal a treasure from another player or rearrange one encounter. I mean, you can move these cards around. So if you want, you can play one of these cards from your hand, and then you go ahead and move to the next part where you actually try to resolve the encounter. To resolve the encounter, you'll take 1 die plus 1 extra die for each warrior on your ship. These are the warriors. So starting off, you only have 1 die. But this is a water-based encounter, and you remember, for this round, we get an extra die against water-based encounters. So we'll get to roll 2. Roll your dice. Any number faces that match the numbers in red here at the top of the card will deal damage to the card. So we got a 2 and a 3, 3, 4, 5, or 6 will hit. We take 1 damage marker, put it on the card. And then we're done. At the end of your turn, go ahead and see if any cards have been taken enough damage to actually meet the number in the top right. And if they have, you go ahead and score this card. So you'll get the effect in the bottom right. This says deal 1 damage to each card adjacent to it. So we'll go ahead and just deal a damage to this card right here. And if that had taken enough damage, we'd also score that. But it's got 2 health, so it's still going to stay there. And then you'll take this card and you'll place it in front of you. This will show your victories, basically. And a lot of glory cards will require you to have resolved a certain number of water encounters or sand encounters. So you set that card next to you. Then, play will continue to the player to your left, going clockwise, and they will get to select one of the encounters to try to interact with. So player 2 might go ahead and decide, well, you've already done 1 damage to this cave, I'll go ahead and take a crack at it. I'll get to roll 2 dice, 1 for my starting ship, and 1 for the... Actually, this is not a water encounter, so they only get to roll 1 die. So maybe they roll it, they miss, so nothing happens. Once all players have tried to resolve encounter cards, then you move on to the retaliation step. You can go ahead and denote that by taking your first player token and flipping it over to the retaliation side. During the retaliation step, the encounter cards will get to fight back. So, starting with the leftmost encounter, the player 1 will go ahead and roll the encounter die. And card 1 will attack player 1, the player with the player token. Roll it, and then depending on how many triangles you get, you'll go ahead and resolve that effect. So if it shows a damage, that would affect player 1. If it shows a treasure, in this case, player 1 will receive that as well. When you take damage in this game, you will discard a number of cards from your hand equal to the damage taken. If you don't have, I take 1 damage here, I'll discard my tax collector. I didn't want to play that anyway, so get rid of that card. If you don't have enough cards in your hand to discard, instead you have to remove components from your ship temporarily. So let's say I had my ship here and I actually did happen to have a warrior on board. I would have to remove that warrior for this phase of the game. But you'll get him back, you don't permanently lose him. Once that's all done, then you move on to the next card. The next card will attack player 2. So you roll the die, same thing will happen. The effects will be resolved against player 2, and you move on. If there were 3 cards, you'll actually wrap back around. So the third card would actually go ahead and affect player 1 again. Once the retaliation steps have all been done, you'll flip your first player token back over to the player side, and players will again try to resolve the encounters, starting with player 1. Once all encounter cards have been resolved and removed from the board, you've completed this phase of the game, and you move on to the port phase. Once all encounters have been cleared during the sail phase, players will move to the port phase. And the port phase is fairly straightforward. The first thing you can do is take the turn order card, which shows all the rules for the sail phase, and flip it over to the port side to go ahead and remind players what phase of the game you're in. In addition, it will show the prices for all the upgrades to your ship. First thing to do on this phase is go ahead and have any player who has damaged components that had to be removed temporarily from combat, go ahead and reattach them to their ship. So for example, we ran out of cards to discard, so we had to remove our soldiers. Maybe, for example, we can pop them right back on, right there. Then, players can go around the table and spend any coin treasure cards they have in their hand to purchase upgrades for their ship. And again, the prices are denoted on the card right here. So we'll go over what the upgrades do. First are the warriors. They'll go ahead and slide into these little slots between the little wheels here on the sides of the ship. And these will let you roll extra dice during the encounter phase, or sorry, the sail phase. So remember, you get to roll 1 for your ship and an additional 1 die for each warrior on your ship. So these are a good early purchase, and their costs increase linearly as you purchase more. The next upgrade you can get are morale tokens, which are these little ceramic pots or whatever. And these will go in the back of your ship here. And what these do is they actually make your feat cards better. So on your feat card, to start with, you'll only be able to use the top effect. But as you add more morale tokens, you'll get to use stronger and stronger effects on these cards. So that's what the morale tokens do. And you can have up to 2 of those on the back of your ship. Again, the prices are listed on your card here. The last component you can purchase are sails. There are 3 types of sails, each one with increasing... Oh, this should be a 2, but you get the idea. Each one will have an increasing cost, and you can have up to 2 on your ship. And what these do, so let's say we purchase a level 1, so Put it right there, and a level 3, and put it right there. And what these do are whenever you are in an encounter and an encounter is attacking you, if you have the matching symbol for your sail, so say an encounter rolls a 1 against me to deal some nasty effect, if it matches one of my sails, I can force a reroll of this die 1 time per sail matching. So let's say it rolls a 1, ooh, that's a particularly bad effect, I don't want that, but I have level 1 sail, we'll reroll that. Now it's a 2. I don't have the level 2 sail, but you know, I just have to deal with that one. Once all players have purchased any upgrades they want, you'll go ahead and pass the start player marker to the next player clockwise, and the game will continue to the next sail phase. As the game goes along, you're going to reveal a new location card every time a new sail phase begins. Once you get 3 rounds in, you'll reveal a Uncharted Territory card. Remember, we seeded these into the deck at the beginning of setup, and you'll find the encounter deck associated with whatever it says here, so it'll be medium first. You'll find the medium encounters, and you'll shuffle those into the deck, increasing the difficulty as gameplay goes on. 3 more cards down, you'll find the hard encounters, you'll shuffle those in, and then 3 more, the game will end. And that's how you play the Voyage of Argo. I appreciate you sticking around. If you're interested in the game, you can purchase a copy of it on thevoyageofargo.com. Feel free to discuss it on Board Game Geek, and if you're interested in the game, make sure to let your friends know. And thank you for watching.